Oh, welcome to the pod live stream. Barry, you have the first item.
Thank you. Yeah, hi. So the first thing for me is I just wanted to bring this audience's attention to the Q1 planning issue that we've put together. It's got the high-level steps of what we hope to achieve for Q1. At the end of creating this issue, we went into a bit more detail with the milestone planning that we've got towards the bottom there, which is it's everything to do with pods. So it's decomposition for self-managed users as well as pods iteration. The intention is to report the progress of the planning issue in the pods AMA each month, and as I say, it's got the three epics in it. Decomposition for self-managed users, we're about halfway through in terms of number of issues completed at the moment, with the objective of creating 2 database connections at the end of it. The decomposition for self-managed users is taking up a fair amount of resources in the team at the moment, so we're looking at how we can spread resources across all activities.
Thanks, Barry. Camille, you had some comments?
It's more like the status update. Like on the iteration 1, we've just finished the composition of the application setting and license. It was easy because it's highly isolated. So we are pretty much halfway through that iteration, working on the next bits. I also started looking at the iteration 2, which is like much bigger piece of the work, while iteration 1 is happening. So this is the status of those. You can find more details in the issues about the progress and what is marked as done. There is like the point number 2, which is like the term pods versus other alternatives. Fabian.
Yeah, I read through the suggestions. Thank you everybody for contributing. I particularly like silos because we're trying to deliver more isolation, and I think a silo intuitively is associated with isolation. And so if we have to change the term, I think silo is messy foo and well understood. So thanks, Barry, for that.
Yeah, it felt like it was relevant.
Yeah, hearing that they already ran into troubles with pods, even on the conceptual level. So thanks for that 2C comment, Steve. I think that's a great idea to call it a silo instead. So I'm supportive. Not sure whether Camille or Steve wants to verbalize their point.
Naming is hard. I'm fine with whatever, to be honest. I think like ultimately like the term should be descriptive enough to clearly describe what we are doing. But I think intuitively it's like much more common than silo, because silo you need to understand. I mean, read the term. In terms of the pods, there is like a lot of similarities outside of GitLab, but naming is hard. So I'm fine with whatever.
I 100% agree with you, Camille, that this is not an easy thing to name. I guess relative to that comment, I am concerned that down the road we would find ourselves in a position where someone makes a mistake in an MR and just puts pods or indicates pods in the wrong way, or during an incident is some kind of emergency reaction. I could see like the term saying, "Hey, why don't you go ahead and drain that pod?" Of course, this would be way in the future when we would have other capabilities, but something like that, and we end up taking the wrong action on the wrong target. So silos does have some good imagery too. We could have like farm silos and that kind of stuff. So for you got to think about what t-shirts you're going to make with these things too. So
I think it's a great point, Steve. And I silo has a negative connotation as a word. like being siloed as an organization is bad, but in this case, the isolation is what we want to do. So I think it's kind of a fun name in that regard, where the negative aspects of the connotation are actually what we're going for.
Yes, and also like from the pre-user UX research, it seems that like people are fine with the isolation. So it seems that this is like what we're gonna doing.
Cool. I have number 3. This project seems to be on track now. I think this is, I don't know, we can probably check on YouTube, but our 10th meeting or something like that. I think Barry presented a very consistent plan, and I think I'm happy where this is. I don't think I'm adding value anymore here. So I propose this is the last pod CO meeting, and this group just goes further without me messing in it. How do people feel, Josh?
Yeah, it probably makes probably sense to have the last synchronous meeting, but we can probably still provide updates in CEO. That way we can make sure you're aware, and if anything does come up, we can have a call and address it earlier than later.
That's great. I love updates, and maybe we can do them monthly so they're kind of synced to what we achieved in a release.
Sure, sounds good.
That's what we were planning to do.
Awesome, that's great. Who's going to tell Leaky to remove this meeting?
Yeah, I'll take that on.
Awesome, thanks, Josh. Fabian.
Yeah, I was just wondering, Jörg, because this initiative, the Silo initiative, I think has wide-reaching implications for GitLab's architecture. Do you require additional sort of a summary links, background, handbook links for this, or are you good for now?
No, I'm good for now. I have lots of internal resources. Thanks for pointing it out. But yeah, I'm getting up to speed on that already. Thank you.
Excellent.
Let me see if I can explain the initiative to Jörg. That's always a good check whether we're on the right track, because I found him to be technically extremely savvy. So Jörg, we see that GitLab.com will just keep growing in many aspects. And it's going beyond one database. One thing that we did, what we foresee in the future, that we're going to have customers who don't interact at all with, or interact very little with other customers and projects. And we kind of want to separate them, so we can separate them in their own, in a shared database, but kind of in a separate database from the rest, separate Redis, separate everything. So that if we have something go down, not everything goes down at the same time. It's a bit inspired by what Shopify did. Now, Shopify does web stores. They're a bit, you don't fork a web store or something like that. So they have less silo to silo interaction. But we still think we can make this happen. And it would also allow us to have single tenancy, although we're doing dedicated in parallel, but maybe dedicated can move more towards this model. And it would allow us to have choose your tenancy, where you say, hey, I want my data hosted in the EU, for example, European Union. And it would allow you to specify that and have it there, both for maybe legal reasons or maybe even for latency reasons. So that's the idea of the project.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the idea because pretty much that's what actually we did at Gmail, where you also had a server that was hosting a subset of users, and you have a lot of interactions between users, obviously, when you send emails around. So you had to figure out how to find where a user is hosted at any given point. And so the same type of user management, central user management requirements that are coming in here were there. So by the way, it's funny.
Are you okay with this being publicly live streamed?
Yeah. That's okay.
Just making sure you realize this is not the
I do
that other companies live stream. Yeah.
I do. It's just that I have that background, having worked on Gmail, that really reminds me coming full circle here.
It's actually interesting. This is purely anecdotal data, but I've read through user interviews that are being conducted right now to understand how users perceive increased isolation. And Gmail being so well known, many, or the 4 that I've seen, I think 2 have actually mentioned, oh, you know, is this a little bit like when I'm in Gmail and I switch accounts and interactions? So I think this is an interesting sort of circle of interactions here.
Awesome. Cool. Well, it seems that at least we can explain the project. It doesn't mean doesn't mean anything else, but I'm glad for the new name. Also feels like a good moment to say goodbye. Jörg, do you maybe want to, should the monthly update maybe be in the CTO channel with a mention of me, because it feels like you're a more appropriate expert to guide this than I am.
Happy to move it over going forward, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, so the monthly update can go in the CTO channel with an mention of me, because I want to, I'm super curious how this will develop. Cool. Thanks everyone. Have a good rest of your day.